If you drive in the UK, there's a quiet shift happening behind the scenes at the DVLA right now, and most drivers have no idea it's even started. Imagine this. You're driving home from work, nothing unusual happening, when suddenly a flashing light pulls you over. The officer scans a QR code on your phone instead of asking for your physical license. Within seconds, your entire driving history pops up on their screen. Your points, your medical flags, even a pending notice you forgot you'd ignored. And in some cases, your license status can change from valid to invalid in the time it takes to read this sentence. That's not a future scenario. That's where the UK's licensing system is heading right now, in 2026. And if you're not paying attention, you could be caught off guard in ways that genuinely affect your ability to drive legally. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's changing, what it means for your everyday driving, and what you need to do to stay one step ahead of it. For decades, the DVLA has run on a fairly old-fashioned model. You get a plastic photo card. It has your photo, your categories, your expiry date. If something changes, you wait for a new card in the post. If police want to check you out, they either trust the card on site or run your details manually through their systems. It's worked, more or less, but it's slow. It relies a lot on self-reporting, and it leaves a lot of room for outdated information to sit quietly in the background until something goes wrong. The government has been pushing hard to change that, and the centerpiece of the change is the digital driving license, accessed through the gov.uk wallet inside the gov.uk One login app. This isn't just a photo of your license stored on your phone like a screenshot you'd show a bouncer. It's described as a live, interactive credential that connects directly back to the DVLA's central database. Trials began quietly with government staff in December 2025, then expanded to a wider public pilot in February 2026, with provisional licenses for new drivers among the first in line. If you want in, the process is straightforward enough. Download the gov.uk One login app. Verify your identity through passport scanning or facial recognition, or by scanning your existing photo card. Set up biometric login through Face ID, Touch ID, or a secure PIN, and your digital license becomes available, even offline, for moments when you've got no signal at the roadside. Here's the part that should genuinely grab your attention. Because the digital license is tied to a live database rather than a printed card, it can update in real time. If you move house and update your address with the DVLA, your digital license reflects that instantly rather than waiting weeks for a new card. If a medical condition you've reported gets reviewed and cleared, that updates immediately too. But the same mechanism that makes updates faster also makes it possible for the system to flag problems faster. And that's the bit a lot of drivers haven't fully clocked yet. Let's talk about what flagged within minutes actually looks like in practice, based on how this system has been described so far. Roadside checks are the most obvious example. An officer can scan a secure QR code generated by your app and instantly see your current entitlements, your endorsement history, any pending prosecutions that haven't yet gone through court, and what are being called medical fitness flags, which are restrictions tied to reported health conditions. That's a noticeably more detailed snapshot than an officer glancing at a plastic card ever gave them. Then there's the link to ANPR, the automatic number plate recognition cameras you see dotted across motorways, town centers, and city streets. These cameras already cross-reference plates against databases to flag untaxed or uninsured vehicles, but the integration with DVLA data is reportedly getting tighter. Some sources covering the 2026 changes describe a scenario where a vehicle linked to a driver with an out-of-date address or unresolved medical flag could be picked up automatically by ANPR, triggering enforcement action without an officer ever needing to manually pull a record. Whether that becomes the on-the-ground reality everywhere remains to be seen, but the direction of travel is clear, and it's worth taking seriously. Perhaps the most eye-catching claim doing the rounds is around instant revocation. The idea being floated is that if a driver fails something like a roadside eyesight check, an officer could update the DVLA record on the spot, and within minutes the digital license status in the app would shift from valid to revoked or invalid. If that driver kept driving afterwards, they'd potentially be committing an offense the moment any ANPR camera picked up their plate, because the system would already show their license as no longer valid. Again, treat the specifics with a bit of healthy skepticism until you see it confirmed through official gov.uk channels. But the broader trend toward instant status changes rather than postal delays is consistent across pretty much everything being reported about this rollout. There's also a change to how notices work. Traditionally, if a speed camera or ANPR system logged an offense, you'd get a notice of intended prosecution by post, and the police had up to 14 days to send it. Some reports suggest that for drivers opted into the digital scheme, a push notification could be sent to your phone the moment an offense is logged, with the same 172 obligation to respond and the same penalty for ignoring it as you'd face with a paper letter. The system reportedly logs when you open the notification too, which closes off the old excuse of claiming a letter never arrived. If even part of that becomes standard practice, it changes the rhythm of how driving offenses get handled, shifting things from a slow postal process to something closer to instant. Now, why is all this happening at once? The honest answer is twofold. First, there's a genuine modernization push. The DVLA has been investing heavily in digital infrastructure for years, processing the vast majority of its tens of millions of yearly transactions through digital or automated channels already. A digital license that updates instantly is, on paper, more secure than a plastic card that's relatively easy to lose, damage, or counterfeit, and harder for someone to forge convincingly. Second, there's the government's long-running Vision Zero strategy, aimed at eliminating road deaths. With more cars on the road, more advanced vehicle technology, and an aging population of drivers, officials have framed digital systems and tighter medical data sharing as a way to catch unsafe drivers and outdated records faster than the old paper-based system ever could. That medical side deserves its own moment, because it's not just about licenses updating. Under newer data sharing arrangements being discussed, the DVLA is reportedly working more closely with healthcare providers to verify medical declarations rather than relying purely on a driver's word. There's also a live consultation which opened in January 2026 and closed at the end of March, looking at whether drivers age 70 and over should face mandatory eyesight tests every 3 years instead of simply self-declaring that their vision is fine. If that gets adopted, it would replace decades of an honesty-based system with something closer to actual medical confirmation, potentially through opticians submitting results directly to the DVLA. None of this means your photo card is becoming worthless overnight, by the way. The DVLA has been clear that physical licenses will remain valid and accepted until at least 2030. This is being introduced as an optional parallel system, not a forced replacement, particularly for older drivers, people without smartphones, or anyone who simply prefers having something physical in their wallet. But there's also clear language from government about strongly encouraging digital adoption from 2026 onward, especially among younger drivers and anyone renewing their license soon. Reading between the lines, the plastic card isn't disappearing tomorrow, but it's increasingly being treated as the backup option rather than the default. So what should you actually do with all this? A few practical things matter more than ever in this environment. Keep your address and personal details bang up to date with the DVLA, because with ANPR increasingly cross-referencing live records, discrepancies that used to slide under the radar can now surface fast, and some reports point to on-the-spot fines as high as £1,000 for outdated details. If you've got a medical condition that could affect your driving, report it properly and don't assume it'll just get overlooked, because the data sharing net around medical declarations is tightening, not loosening. If you do sign up for the gov.uk wallet, treat notifications from it the way you'd treat a letter from the DVLA landing on your doormat, because by the sound of it, ignoring a digital alert may carry exactly the same legal weight as ignoring a paper one. And if you're approaching 70 or renewing soon, keep an eye on the outcome of that eyesight consultation, because the renewal paperwork you're used to might look different fairly soon. it's also worth being a realistic consumer of this kind of news. A lot of what's circulating about DVLA changes in 2026 comes from secondary sites repackaging government plans, consultations, and pilot schemes, and not every detail described as happening within minutes is necessarily locked in as finished law yet. Some of it is confirmed policy, some of it is still in consultation, and some of it is informed speculation about where the technology is clearly heading. The smart move, if you want to be certain about your own situation, is to check directly on gov.uk for the latest confirmed guidance rather than relying purely on secondhand summaries, this video included. Step back from the detail for a second, and the bigger picture is pretty simple. UK driving licenses are moving from a static, paper-based system that updates slowly to a live, connected system that updates almost instantly. That cuts both ways. It means faster service, fewer delays waiting for a new card, and a system that's harder to forge. But it also means there's a lot less room for outdated details, ignored notifications, or unreported medical conditions to quietly sit unnoticed the way they might have in the past. The drivers who come out ahead here aren't the ones who panic about it. They're the ones who simply stay on top of their own records and treat their digital license once they have one with the same seriousness as a passport or a bank app. That's the full picture of what's changing with DVLA digital checks heading deeper into 2026. If you found this useful, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next update the moment something official gets confirmed, because this is clearly a story that's still moving. Drop a comment letting me know whether you'd actually switch to a digital license or whether you're sticking with the plastic card for now. I genuinely want to know where most of you stand on this. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there on the roads, and I'll catch you in the next one.